Hi, it's Lizzie. Thanks for listening in. We're taking a break for the summer. While we do, I'd like to share one of my favourite episodes from the 2025 season. Enjoy! Where do you find God? Almost sounds like a loaded question, doesn't it? I mean, if God was someone you could find, wouldn't everyone be out searching? Well, rather than looking for something elusive, like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I reckon it's more about learning to recognise the way God is already present to us in our everyday lives. I'm Lizzie Oakes, and this is Where Do You Find God? My guest on the podcast today is Reverend Jill McDonald. Jill is from St Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Hastings, and part of her role, she runs a regular event in a local pub called The Common Good. Jill, welcome to Where Do You Find God?
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here, Lizzie.
Now tell me about this Common Good thing that you run. Is this a weekly, a monthly event?
It's a monthly event, which we run in a bar called The Common Room, and I interview people. So it's kind of like a public podcast in a sense, but people are there present in the room, and I interview them about an issue of social justice or how they're living out their faith or how they're contributing to make the community a better place.
Wow. And how long have you been doing this, Jill?
We started in 2020. We started with we had a series of 4 over 2 months, and it went so well we decided we had to just keep doing it. And because we were connecting with a sector of the population who were really interested in social justice and making the community a better place, but hadn't thought of the church as a place to outwork that.
And how has this sort of impacted your church, you personally? What's the fruit of this common good?
I think it's enabling people outside the church, finding a connecting point. They're maybe not the sort of people who are going to turn up to a Sunday worship. And so it's getting them engaged with and realising that actually God's longing for the world is much more than coming to church on a Sunday. I think that's really important. And I think it's encouraging for them too to be serving in their own community in whatever way. Yeah.
It's so cool. I love that. Go to where the people are, right?
Yeah, it's what Jesus would have done, eh? He would have been at the pub.
He would have been at the pub. Jill, in Acts chapter 17, verse 27, it says, God intended that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. So my question for you today, Jill, is where do you find God?
I feel like God is in the ground of my being, in how I live and move, and is never far from me. And if I stop and take notice, it's really easy to get fixated on busyness and everything there is to do, but often it's just stopping, even for a moment, and just acknowledging that God is there within, among us and around us.
Yeah. So tell me about your experience you've just explained of the common good. What is your experience being with God through this process?
God has opened doors the whole way through. Like, it kind of astounds me now that I rocked up to the owner of the bar and saying what I wanted to do. And
what did you say to him?
So I said, look, I've got this idea that I interview somebody about social justice and have people come along. And he said, oh my gosh, he said, look, I'm an atheist, but this sounds effing fantastic. And so because when he started out, he didn't set out to start a bar. He wanted to create a common space where people would engage together and have conversation. And so this felt like it was really getting into that. So that was one. And then on the first night, it happened to be Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori Language Week. And so I rocked up to the bar owner again. I said, hey, G, how would you feel if we begin with karakia? And he went, hell yeah. And so that was just beautiful because it's really interesting to kind of navigate. You're in this because it's a public bar. People are coming in. It's not like it's a separate room. So how to navigate this space. And so there's all these things that just kind of made it quite easy. And now we also sing some waiata. So and actually a couple of sessions ago, we even broke bread together.
Nice.
In the pub. And that just fitted in quite seamlessly with what had happened. I was interviewing a woman from Scotland who is a member of the Iona community and works a lot with refugees.
Wow.
And she, I'd been, in my researching prior to the interview, she'd created this resource about how significant it was for her to have this Iraqi refugee break bread with her. And then I just shared about this and how important that was. And so we then broke bread together in the pub. It was beautiful.
So cool. What happens when you tell other people who are in ministry like yourself, other reverends and vicars and pastors about what you're doing? What's the response?
Oh, they are really excited and think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really encouraging and absolutely positive and think it's great. And yeah, it's weird. Like I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. It almost feels like a hobby. And it's so like, who knew that all my experiences of spending time in pubs that God would use in this way?
Them. And, you kind of made a joke before, but I think you were serious that, if Jesus was here, where would he be? He would be in the pub.
Yeah.
So he's, as a reverend of a Presbyterian church, he's led you into a pub and you're conversing with people and just having opportunity to share and build relationship that perhaps you wouldn't have if you were just inside the walls of your church. That Jesus who's in the pub there with you, what's he like?
He's engaging, he's listening, he's interested, and he's enlivening. Yeah, so he's someone that people want to get to know.
So the people in the pub want to get to know him?
Yeah, I think so. And it's, like I'm in my interviews and in my introduction to the interviews, I just find different ways of saying why is a church doing this? Why is a church in a pub? And I generally try and, incorporate a little bit of scripture in somewhere and talk about God's longing for the world and finding ways. And I think because I didn't grow up in the church and I know what it's like to be on the other side and just think that church folk are pretty weird. And so because I've experienced it, I think I'm hopefully good at kind of navigating that space and touching on it just in a way that maybe leaves questions for people rather than bashing them over the head with it.
Yeah, I mean, who likes being bashed over the head, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're creating a space in a pub with people to start to be on a journey of discovery of God for themselves.
Yes.
So in a future episode, I may find myself asking somebody where they find God and they may tell me in a pub.
Yeah, that would be great.
And so what does this teach you about God in terms of, you are a reverend, you have a church, but you're out there doing this. What does it teach you about God and God's nature?
Oh, again, it reinforces the idea that God is already out there ahead of us, that we need to listen and notice. So if we do this in a different way and not just expect people to come to church, to come and find us, but to go out. And I mean, gosh, Luke 10, Jesus sending people out. And I just love that. And I guess for me, it was social justice that got me into the church. I worked for Presbyterian Support Otago in Dunedin in my 20s, and then I worked for the Iona community in Scotland, and both were really steeped in social justice. So that's what led me this way. And so I guess it makes sense then that is also what is leading me out into the community.
I'm also thinking, just in closing, that Jesus was a non-conformist, and you sound like one too, right?
Yeah, yeah. People will often say, and I love it, they say, gosh, you don't seem like a minister. And I'm like, yeah, woohoo.
So
Nothing
good.
against any of my ministry colleagues, but I guess I like that I hopefully cannot be put in a box.
Yeah, so good. Reverend Jill McDonald, thank you so much for joining me today on Where Do You Find God? Tune in every Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 on Sanctuary, or listen and subscribe via your favourite podcast platform and give us a review so others can find us.